I'm so excited about today's guests. Story Prism AI is created by Jon and Matt Firman. You guys are brothers. Um, AI is all the buzz right now, right? We're working towards Skynet. So I wanted to get in on this AI thing. I wanted to see what the buzz is about. I'm not scared of it. I actually think it's the future. So I'm excited about it. I know there is a lot of screenwriters terrified right now. And before we jump into that existential crisis, guys, I want to hear about you and what brought you to Story Prism AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, like you said, we're brothers. We're filmmakers based in Baltimore, Maryland, and we've been making movies our whole life.
Yeah.
And we are really deeply involved in the independent community here in Baltimore, and we were part of a film collective. And a lot of the guys who go in there don't really, they're very amateur, right? So they come in, they
Okay.
really know how to make movies, and they really want to learn. And we've noticed that over time they get better, right? So they get better over time. The movies look better, they're shot
Yeah.
better. The technology to make movies, right, visually is very accessible and very easy. I wouldn't say easy, but it's very accessible and a lot cheaper than it used to be. But we noticed that a lot of the stories just didn't seem to hit, right? So they do the first movie and it was not that good. Second movie's better, third movie was even better, but the story just kind of seemed to not progress, right? It didn't seem to kind
Okay.
of expand and get better. And so we noticed that there is a real lack of I guess tools available to kind of help writers, and help craft the story. And so we discovered GPT-3 and back in 2020 when it first came out, and we realized that this is something that could really help filmmakers and help
Yeah.
storytellers craft their stories and in a way that works, right? So a lot of the guys that we work with, they had good ideas, but it just didn't translate well, and it
Yeah.
was really hard for them to get it on page. But and so using tools like this, we found, at least for us, it was like a godsend. It was like, man, this is
Yeah.
the way we can help translate the various crazy ideas that are in our head and get them on page, right, in a professional way.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, when we were working with the collective, which is the Baltimore Charm City filmmakers, over time, like our stories did get a little bit better, but that required tons and tons of time for us to like sit down, talk to them about it, like flesh out their script. They had to mess up like over and over again, just like we had to do.
Mm.
But with AI, the process can be much faster because you're looking at tools that not only allow you to create, but it teaches you in the process.
Mm.
So you're able to connect the dots much more easily.
What I thought was really cool about the way you've done it is, in my mind, it's kind of like creating a digital mind map, essentially, because you have several prompts. And I sit down and I can decide, do I want to use the one where I can create character and it asks me a series of questions, which forces me to think about it. So then can throw something on there and then I can hit the generate button and I can let the AI start to have fun with it. Which I think is great because then that begets me to sit down and think more creatively about what I want to do with that prompt. And I think what the big fear here is that screenwriters are like, oh, the AI is just going to generate the content for me. I think what the AI does, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just a humble screenwriter trying not to be put out of business by this. What I think the AI is doing is it is just allowing you to take in the data that it provides and collectively take that and be creative with it. Like, okay, this is the data set it gave me. Oh, that's a really interesting prompt. I can do something with that. And then I take that and I change it and I make it my own. And it's just a faster process. I mean, for me, it just was screaming like, yeah, this is a mind map, but it's done digitally and it's allowing me to do it. I could sit there and hit the generate prompt button and it can write everything for me. But I think coming into it, There are AI programs out there that are doing that with like blogs. You could sit down and you can generate, and you have the same type of concept. And I think it's great. There is definitely a future with this as a hybrid for any screenwriter out there. And I don't think it's going to eliminate the writers from the market like everybody says it does.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. But just to add on to that, I think it can do more than just act as a bouncing board. It can also act as a researcher for very nuanced things. Like if you're doing something on like, what is the fire, how does the fire department actually put fires out? What's the
Yeah.
language that they're using and stuff? That could be very important for writers. It could also be a tool for educating,
Cool.
to streamlining stuff, to also visualizing your stories as well. So like, for instance, we're working on AI image gen tools that allow you to essentially storyboard your script as you're writing your script.
That's absolutely sick. If you can
Yeah.
get that to work, I think that's fantastic. Are you going to consider taking that a next step forward? There's a lot of writers out there that like to do posters, for instance. Is that something that would be on the table too?
Yeah, absolutely. We have actually an upcoming tool that we're working on right now that will allow you to take a log line and generate a movie poster.
Oh my God, that is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I'm in love with it.
Well, it's cool because you can go on Dolly 2 or Midjourney and stuff, and their models are phenomenal, for sure. But the problem is, because of its predictive nature, you have to know how to like do prompt engineering and to communicate to the AI effectively and use the right keywords. And so it can be kind of messy. And if you're writing, you're focusing all your time on like trying to build the story, like you don't have time to figure all that out. So what we're doing is we're just like making it super simple so that you can write pretty much, you could literally just cut and paste your log line and it just sort of generates something similar to it, and then you can make edits from there.
That's absolutely incredible. I love it. I mean, I have a little logline builder on my site, and I know it took a ton of resources to have a guy code that. So I can't imagine. I mean, how long has this been in being developed for?
I guess the entire site we've been working on since about 2021, the entire project.
Wow.
The image gen stuff we've kind of been working since December. Building that out ever since. A lot of stuff. The thing with AI is like it's like constantly evolving. Every week it's coming out, and there's some innovations happening, which is like it's hard to keep up. So it's actually it's pretty amazing. Like when you're in the space, but it's also like anxiety inducing. You're like, oh my God, there's so much out there. And a lot of the image gen stuff kind of just got released around the end of the year last year. So that's really where we kind of are spending some of our focus on.
Yeah. And like the other thing too is like our background is in Silicon Valley, right? So like we didn't get into tech business or anything and cultivate ourselves in that space. We were just working in the indie space. I mean, John works for a mom and pop production company. I do indie work on the side. And so, coming into this kind of endeavor is basically like being dropped off in the middle of the woods. And you need to figure out how to survive and how to like actually make this wooded area work. And that requires like trial and error. And so, it's just the nature of the beast when you're getting into something new. It's the same thing that happened to us when we were getting into films for the first time.
I actually I like that a lot because there is more kind of screenwriting AI stuff out there. So there's competition in the market, but they always come from a science background. So they're like scientists trying to learn storytelling and teach it to AI. I love the fact that you guys are storytellers. First, going into the AI part of it. Now you have that nature about yourselves that you can inform it. So it's going to be easier to use. We're going to understand it, and it's going to know what we want. I actually love that a lot. It's like an actor who's playing a logger who used to be a logger. Like they have the knowledge, they know what's going on. So it feels more authentic. So this is out right now. People can become a membership trial or something,
Oh, yeah.
and then they
Oh,
can go
yeah.
out and start trying it, Story Prism. Right now, it's its own site. Do you see this as something that eventually you'll be wanting to incorporate into screenwriting software? Or are you looking at doing your own screenwriting software with the AI involved?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We our plan is to has always been to incorporate a screenwriting software or develop our own.
Yeah.
And essentially, what we have is a space where you can essentially create your own writing assistant.
Yeah. Have your own little screenwriting clippy.
Yes,
Pretty
yes,
much, yeah.
exactly. Right. Yeah, we actually joke about that, as being the thing. But yeah, so essentially, you create your expert AI assistant who's an expert on your story. You walk them through the process, and then at the end, you can write. And if you wanted to look at dialogue, you can highlight the
Yeah.
dialogue, and it'll say, "Hey, this doesn't align with your character. It's like I don't think they would say this. They might say something like
It's
this."
game changing.
Yeah.
It's game changing. If you get that before everybody else, it's game over. I mean, you've won. That's absolutely it's
Yeah,
absolutely incredible. So I would love to see it, and that really is the future. Just let me be able to name my own Clippy. That's all I want.
Sure.
well, I mean, there's a, in so coming into it initially, we worked with the prompt boxes, and that was honestly due to the limitations of AI at the time.
Okay.
You can only, it kind of devolves into chaos after like, I think at that time, like 2,500 characters or whatever.
Okay.
So you had to split them up. But now we're really exploring different ways to like make it so much more fluid, so that instead of having these boxed in things, you just have a blank canvas where you can call on the AI to like chat with you and help you build stuff within your like blank document. And that's really important because writing is hard enough as it is, which is why like everybody who writes, or at least a lot of people who write, tend to like isolate themselves in their own little room. They create their own comfort space. A lot of writers have rituals too, and it's because they're everybody is very sensitive when it comes to like that transition from like normal thinking to like that flow state where you're just in the zone and you're right. So you just need minimal distractions, really. So
I think that's actually a very good point. If you get too analytical, it takes you out of your creative processing center. So now you're really playing with how the brain works. I think that's smart. You guys are so innovative.
thank you.
All right, whose idea was it first? I'm putting a little brother competition now.
I don't know.
Well,
I think it was. Well, I guess we Matt.
We both came up to it
I guess we
together.
both. I mean, we essentially designed it in the way that we both kind of write together. Like Matt's really big on the pre-planning stuff.
Okay.
And so like we ever write a screenplay, we'll spend weeks to months just like thinking about the moral conversation, thinking about the characters, building backstories, and really getting deep into that before we even start the writing process. Other writers, they just jump in and that works for them, but for us, we really love the plan. And that was really Matt just kind of thinking about learning from the people who've pre-planning guides and stuff like that, and just kind of figuring out how we can incorporate something like that.
All right, I'm going to screenwriting geek on you now. So this is what I do. I mean, I have a book on screenwriting that's a bestseller. So were you using any particular type of structure out there to help inform the AI and what to do? And I only say this because there are a million types of different structures, right? You have like the big three, of course. But my personal theory is that all structure goes back to Joseph Campbell's monomyth.
Right.
So I'm curious just to see if there was any kind of an influence.
I would say the biggest influence we had just for our initial setup was John Truby's Anatomy of Story.
Okay, yeah, solid.
That profoundly impacted me personally and really just helped me understand how to write. And it was very, it had that sort of logical sequence, like and it helped you build assets, which is really important if you're doing anything with AI, because AI can handle stuff like that. It can't handle things that are a lot more nebulous and free flowing. But with that said, we're introducing like so many other things. Like, I mean, for plot structuring, like there's Dan Harmon's story circle, Fitchian curve. You know,
seven
yeah, seven
source-
act structure.
yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, there's like I
You're
think
just naming all the books behind me right now. That's all you're doing.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I would say that was probably our strongest influence, and now we're just sort of like trying to veer out because again, we want it to be malleable because the templates that we have are the templates that work for us, and that's great, but not everybody is like us.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And there are a lot of loyalists out there. I mean, there are people who go, I only do McKee, you know, and like, and you can't help them. There's other people they're stuck on the beat sheet, you know, and but that's what works for them. But that doesn't mean that it works for everybody. And I mentioned that. And mine is like, you know, this is a guide. These are just what I recommend, but you know, eventually find your own tools, put them in your own toolbox.
Right.
Guys, is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have?
Well,
yeah. So, well, I would like to just say that you know, one of the things with AI, I guess going back to the question of people being scared of AI and everything, and one of the interesting things that we noticed is you know, we have a lot of customers actually in Nigeria and
well, there's a huge film market.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we actually talked to them, and just because we wanted to find out more about the Nigerian market and what's going on over there, and they're like, you know, there is no real structure, right, for our process to train writers, and one of the things that they do lack is quality screenplays.
Yeah,
and it actually is something that they really want, you know, and you know, a lot of the guys who make movies there, they go to New York, they go to LA to learn, and then they come back and then, you know, make their movies. But there isn't like a film school, there isn't really that thing that we have in the West, right? And so they're really excited about AI because of the possibility of being able to create screenplays and create their, you know, projects without needing to kind of spend lots and lots of money going to film schools and flying out of the country and stuff like that. So that's really an interesting, exciting area. I think that AI is going to have a big impact on, you know, kind of these other emerging markets. And
I think that's great. And I can also see that probably happening in India. In Nigeria, they literally call it Nollywood.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's a thing. I got hired to go down to Ghana and teach screenwriting to their filmmaking students because, well, it fell through. Something happened, but because the Nigerian film market is so booming, Ghana was like, we want some of that. So they wanted me to go down there and teach filmmaking to them. So I was going to create this crash course in screenwriting, which ended up becoming my book. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but that's how much they wanted is they're willing to pay, you know, some guy from the US to come down and teach their students. So I mean, it means that, and there's a market around that. I mean, there's economy around that. So it is true. Yeah, I think you guys are spot on. So storyprismai.com
.io. So storyprism.io.
Storyprism.io. All right.